Okay, what I'm going to talk about is neoliberalism, whatever that is. I don't know what it is really. I mean, I don't think anyone knows what it really is. It's just sort of like a slang derogatory statement for anyone who dares to believe in capitalism, I think. Neoliberalism versus socialism. Right. Now, there's one thing that the political left are very, very good at, with the help of the media, I think, which is also obviously pretty leftist, is framing what the conversation should be, what we should be talking about, what the whole debate is about. And that basically has the effect of kneecapping the political right, or people who are basically just rational, right off the mark. Now, what I want to do to try and counteract that is explain how economic development works. Explain the reason why we are all eating dinner tonight without a second thought that we will eat dinner tonight and live very long, comfortable lives compared to how we used to just 100 years ago, and most certainly 200 years ago. Okay, the best scenario to take is to imagine say three guys, chopping down wood in the forest so that they can sell firewood to people to keep warm. And they're doing it with hand saws, okay? Then a capitalist comes along who's got, money in his pocket, and he looks at these guys working very, very hard for basically a very low yield because they're using hand saws, and says, I tell you what, boys, I'm going to go into town and buy 3 chainsaws and give them to you, and you're going to work for me, and I'll pay you 15% more than what you're earning right now to chop down all that firewood for sale using chainsaws. And they go, 15% more? Hell, that's cool. And they agree to it. And so their hand saws are replaced with chainsaws, and their profitability of their labor increases by a factor of 5. Most of that money at first goes to the capitalist. Most of the profits. I mean, they're still much better off. The boys who are now working with chainsaws rather than hand saws, they get 15% higher income, but the huge yields come from go primarily at first to the capitalist who made the investment. That's his reward for taking a risk and investing his capital in the first place in a good opportunity. So everybody gets richer. The guys who are doing the work get a bit richer, the capitalist gets a lot richer, and also the society, the village all round gets richer because you're increasing the supply of firewood, which is produced more abundantly, and then the price of firewood drops for people in the village. And this is very, very important for me to stress. It's actually the true foundation of prosperity. What you need to do before all else, and it really doesn't matter how you're doing it for the most part, but what you must do before all else is generate abundance. Because if you've got trucks coming into the supermarket jam-packed full of food, it doesn't matter what people are earning. It doesn't matter if they're all technically low-income earners. You want to sell that food in the supermarket, don't you, rather than throwing it out. So the price drops to whatever people can afford. Loosely, generally speaking, that's how it works. My point is, again, to stress the generation of abundance is critical, and it's ultimately the only thing that really matters. Not who owns the means of production, but the production itself, the generation of abundance. Sorry if I'm overstressing that. Anyway, going back to my example of the guys with chainsaws, getting chainsaws rather than hand saws, that is industrialization, that is economic development. Now, as time goes on, what you find with all these capitalists investing in all these people to increase their productivity so they can make a fortune, is that they start to run out of labor, available cheap labor, and the job market becomes tight with competent cheap labor. And therefore there's this competition for whatever labor's left to run their machines, to run their great machines. And that forces the capitalists to pay their staff more just to hold on to them, to stop them from going over to the other guy who's making firewood with chainsaws just down the road. And that is certainly how it works, and no one can tell me it doesn't work that way, because it's not only makes perfect sense in terms of logic, and we've observed it empirically for the last 100, 200, if not 2,000 years. So that's how it works. That's how economic development works. It's generating abundance through capital investment, improving efficiencies. That should be common sense, and that should be obvious. And that's a process we should not want to stand in the way of. because it's done so much and continues to do a tremendous amount all throughout the industrializing world. So who are these people that say, I hate your filthy guts, you capitalist, greedy, neoliberal people? They're people who just don't get what I told you. I mean, there are certainly toxic things that can go on in a capitalist society, such as private enterprise, private capitalists jumping into bed with government to skew the game to their advantage against other interests, and that's crony capitalism. And anyone who's, I mean, all right wingers are against crony capitalism, just like the left. We have common ground there. But creating protectionist laws that ultimately make your nation unattractive for capital investment is a really bad idea. Because if that guy with the big fat wallet realizes that it's not worth investing in your nation to replace those hand saws with chainsaws, what does he do in a global economy? He just shrugs his shoulders and goes, okay, you're a bad deal, I'll go invest money in China instead. And they get the industrialization, we don't. It really is that simple. Now, I'd like to make a point from here on competition. Every economy in the world is actually competitive. It's all linked, directly or indirectly. The only way it can't ultimately be linked is if you stop people from leaving your country, so it becomes a prison. It becomes a truly closed-off market, which is not realistic or certainly not humane and desirable. And because of that, all nations are competitive ultimately. I mean, if you've got people, if your country is really not competitive, then there'll be no business in it. All business, all capital investment will just uproot and go off elsewhere. So this is the crunch point. You can either be competitive the easy way or the hard way, but you will be competitive. The easy way to be competitive is to have great infrastructure, a stable government, good tax structure, non-tyrannical union power that threatens to destroy any business at any time due to, labour market stupidity, etc. And all those fundamental things that make you an attractive place for capitalists to come in and invest money. That's the easy way to be competitive. And if you're not competitive the easy way, you have no choice but to be competitive the hard way. And what is the hard way to be competitive? Think about it. Cheap labour. At the end of the day, there's no way around it. This is why when we have all these laws that are anti-capital investment, okay, all these anti-neoliberal laws, you end up basically shooting yourself in the foot because you have to pay for it. There's no way around it. Cheap labour. Thank you.